Jalen Haralson, the five-star recruit in the 2025 class, could be committing soon.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. Appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Well, thank you so much for being here. And again, shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you that come here Monday through Friday, every episode, and you never miss one. I really appreciate you. I see you, I hear you, and you help us out tremendously here on the program. So thank you so much for being here once again. Jalen Haralson, five-star commit, one of the best players in the 2025 class. He's been to Indiana a handful of times, and he just got off his official visit. Had some good things to say, but could he be committing soon? We'll talk about that today. Plus, Curt Cignetti talks about the UCLA trip for Indiana football, and it's just a business trip. I love this guy, man. We're going to talk about what he had to say as well. Plus, it was announced a little bit ago, but we'll go circle back to this, how Indiana will be playing a basketball game in PA. That's right, in Philly this year at a historic venue this season. All that right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Well, earlier in I believe it was this weekend, or I guess coming off of this weekend, it was an interview with Jalen Haralson, and it was done by Peaks.com, the 24/7 sports site for Indiana. So shout out to those guys. You can go and check that video out if you would like. And they asked a couple of questions to Jalen Haralson after his visit to Indiana. They were visiting him in his high school and were just checking things out, just seeing how things were going. And the thing that stood out to me here was they just straight up asked him, hey, you had mentioned before how you were wanting to commit somewhere before your high school season started. Is that still the case? And he said, yes, absolutely. That is still the case for me. I still want to commit somewhere before I start my senior season. Okay, cool. He also confirmed that he still has, 4 visits upcoming. He still has more visits to complete. Yes, he has his Indiana one, but he still goes to Notre Dame and Michigan State and then Kansas, and there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head, but he finishes with Kansas in early to mid-October. And so when you start looking at the calendar here, ladies and gentlemen, we're not all that far away from Jalen Haralson committing somewhere. And I still believe it could be right here in Bloomington. I think he likes it here. He's been here several times. Okay, he had some good things to say in this video. Again, go check it out, Peaks.com. It's the Indiana 247 site, okay? He had some things to say about his visit, how it was really, really involved, right? His family had a really good time. He got to talk with a bunch of alumni, talk to all the different coaches, even like strength and conditioning people, just about what he would be doing and what it would sort of look like here at Indiana. And he admitted that people told him, look, Indiana's going to take care of you. Indiana will be a place that you can call home forever. And he admitted about, not playing for the same coaches as those guys did, but they were able to talk about Indiana on a larger scale rather than what could be taking place on the floor in terms of offense and defense. But this guy's really smart. Jalen Haralson is a very, very bright young man. You can see it every time you hear from him and talk with him and any sort of media availability that he has. You can just tell the kid knows what he's doing. And he's got a super bright future. And I mean, on the floor, off the floor, no matter what he decides to do, I think Jalen Haralson's going to be a very, very successful young man. I just hope that he decides to do all of that in Indiana, in Bloomington. And I believe that we're right there with him. I think it's going to be hard to beat everybody else, but I don't think it's impossible. I don't think we're fifth on that list. I don't think we're fourth on that list. I think we're 2 or 3. I really do. We could be 1. I think we're in the top schools for him. It obviously has a lot to do with how these other visits go. But the good thing is we kicked it off. We got things going. He has now, and I've told you this, my everydayers, you guys know this. Every visit he goes on between now and the last one, he will be comparing it to what happened at Indiana. He'll compare it, whether he does it consciously or subconsciously. He will compare every other visit to Bloomington. And I like the fact, and I've said this a couple of times already, I like that he's been here more than just the one time, right? He's not going to be an Eric Reeby who walks into campus and this is his first trip to Bloomington and you feel that you have to go over the top and make it overly special, right? This is a guy, Haralson or Mullins or Sisley, like these guys have been here several times. And so it sounds like to me, from what I've been told, what I've heard, kind of reading between the lines here, sounds like his official visit wasn't over the top, just let's cram as much stuff as we can into one singular weekend. Sounds like they just kind of went through the motions and they sat down and he got to meet with the coaches and talk with the staff and have more in-depth conversation rather than, hey, look at our nice facilities. Don't you want to be here? This place is great. Look at all the people and the buildings and all of that, right? And I think that could help with a guy like Jalen Haralson because he's very smart. He knows what he's doing. And he is wanting more than fancy facilities or cool looking jerseys or shoes or all the glitz and glamour. He's looking for more than that. And so it sounds like Indiana was able to do that with him on his official visit. Whereas some of these other schools that he's never been to or only been once or twice, they're going to do everything they can. They're going to throw everything at him. And some kids love that and some kids don't. Haralson, I don't know. I don't know him that well. I can't speak for him on that side of things. But I think Indiana had a very cool, calm, in-depth visit with him, and that could benefit us down the road. And he's going to commit somewhere in the next, month or so, give or take. Jalen Haralson, 2025, major recruit, had his official visit, spoke with some people, and I think it went really well. So just keep your eyes out, okay? Keep your eyes out because he's going to commit somewhere very soon. I will say this. I do think he takes all of his visits before he commits. I don't think he'll bail out on any of his. I think he'll take them all. I think he's that type of guy to where he'll take all of his official visits. I could be wrong, but I think he does that. But be on the lookout because Jalen Haralson's going to commit somewhere very, very soon. And I think it very well could be right here at Indiana. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll go to the football side because Curt Cignetti spoke with the media this week and taking a business trip to UCLA this weekend. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. Hey, Locked On Hoosiers fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers? Not that we'd want to take that from Curt Cignetti, but you can if you want to. From recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. It's so in-depth, man. I play it literally every day. In the mornings, I play it at lunch, I play it at night. It is amazing. And here's what I really love about it. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. So it's your strategy, your game planning, your play calling. You are the one that controls whether your team wins or not. It's pretty awesome, right? Ultimate College Football head coach is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Hoosiers fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take your advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. Download it to go to ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in your app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here. Shout out to all my everydayers. I love you guys. You are growing by the day, I think. And so thank you for that. If you're looking for a way to support this show, because a reminder, it's free to you every single day, audio and video. That's what's great about what we do here at the Locked On Podcast Network is our shows are free to you. And so if you're looking for a way to support the show, there's a few things you can do. All right. On the video side, like the video. That's the easiest one to do. Like the video. Comment down below. Do you think Indiana gets Jalen Haralson? I need your honest opinion here. Do you think we land Jalen Haralson? Okay. Drop that in the YouTube comments. And then the best way to help us out, the best way to support the show, click on our Locked On Hoosiers logo and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It takes 2 clicks, doesn't do anything. All it does is make you an everydayer and let you know when a new episode gets live, okay? That's all it does, so it helps you, helps me, and we're all happy here. So be sure you do that for me as well, and I really do appreciate that. All my audio listeners, you can do the same thing. Be sure you follow us on there, turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode on your audio platform of Locked On Hoosiers as well. Man, can I just start out by saying I love Curt Cignetti. I love this guy. I absolutely love Curt Cignetti because he's a baller, man. He is an absolute baller because he just doesn't care, man. He doesn't care about what narratives there are. He is not like a normal coach. He is old school, grindstone, hard, you know what, just a freaking bad dude. I love Curt Cignetti, and he spoke with the media this week coming off of a legitimately historic win for Indiana football. And this is a big week for us, man. This is a huge week for Indiana football as we head out to the Rose Bowl to open up Big Ten play against UCLA. And that still sounds weird to say, I know, but it is what it is, right? With the newcomers of UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon. We'll get used to it eventually. But I love this opportunity for us to go out and play UCLA at the Rose Bowl. Would I like to have them at home? Sure. But given what we just did, given the fact that we just put up 77 points, we're coming off the biggest, most points we've ever scored, yards we've ever had. I mean, a historic win for Indiana football. But the way Curt Cignetti talked yesterday, you wouldn't know it. You would know it. You would have no idea. You would know that Indiana won a football game. You wouldn't know who it was against. You wouldn't know how they did it. And by the end of the press conference, Cignetti had moved on. He was done. He had moved on from that. And that's what good coaches do, man. That's what winners do. He admitted he was very proud. He liked the effort from his team. He liked because the message going into a week ago was, put your foot on their jugular and don't let off. Go after them. Get after it and play for 4 quarters. And that's exactly what they did. And he admitted in his press conference, he said, look, we weren't running up the score against a team that was obviously not good. He said, we ran it 70% of the time. But what we didn't do is let up. We didn't let up. We continued to execute and we continued to play with hard effort. That's all you can ask for if you're a head coach in a game like this, where I think Indiana got better, where most teams would not have. Most teams would have just said, all right, we'll put up 50 and we'll just call it a day. We got ours. We got the W. Let's move on. Not Indiana. They came in and got better last week against Western Illinois. He admitted he gave them an extra day off. They got going on Monday. And I love the quote about playing at the Rose Bowl. He got asked this like 3 or 4 times. I don't really understand why media likes to do this, but whatever. It's their thing, I guess. They continue to ask, how do you feel about playing on the road? How do you feel about playing at the Rose Bowl? How do you feel about playing in one of the shrines of college football? And you know what he said? He said, I don't care. He was like, look, it's cool, but it is what it is. It's another place to play for us, and we just have to go and do our thing. He says, quote, Rose Bowl has a lot of tradition for people that follow football. For me and the team, it's more of a business trip. Whether we're playing in the Rose Bowl or in a parking lot, it's all the same. Boom. How about that, huh? How about that? That's the dude that's leading our program right now. He's not going to let this get to his team's head. He's not going to let the brand of UCLA get to the heads of his players. They're not going to get overly excited about playing in the Rose Bowl because the stadium's junky anyway. If you've been out there, let's just be real. He's not going to let any of that get to his team. He talked about not knowing a whole lot about this team, right? Got some new coordinators, only playing the one game. They struggle with Hawaii. I mean, it's just kind of weird, right? He admitted they don't know a ton about this team, but he did talk about the advantage of how his team has played more games and how they've played a big, or had a big win. I'm not going to say it's a big game. They had a big win, right? And he feels confident in his team about what they've done and where they're heading. Talked about Curtis Rourke, talked about the receivers, talked about the offensive line, the defense. I mean, he was very proud of what his team did a week ago. And I guess not even a week ago, but last week, if you will. And we should be too. And I like this. He addressed the fact that Indiana is now favored in this football game. Did you see this? We're favored in the game now because of our performance from last week. We jumped up in all these different rankings and numbers and all that, and we're favored to win on the road, which is kind of crazy. Maybe jumping the gun. I don't know. I'd have to look back and see the last time we were favored on the road, especially at a place like UCLA, right? And look, UCLA is not all that great. Like, let's not get hung up on the brand here. Let's not get hung up on the name, okay? Remember, this is the guy that was at Big Ten Media Days that embarrassed himself on the national stage. And I felt bad for the guy, but it's just a fact. But they're still a good football team. They're really talented. They're fast. They're quick. And they're really, really talented. And I think they could pose some threats to Indiana, especially in the secondary for the Hoosiers. So we have to play good football. But what I like to hear from Cignetti time and time again, and I don't think it's an act, man. I really don't. I don't think it's an act because I think you can see it in his players. They're going to be ready to play. They're going to be prepared. They're going to be motivated. They're going to be focused. And they're going to give it everything they've got. He doesn't like the fact that they're favored, but it is what it is. He can't change that. They're going to go in and play this game. And I've told you since day one that we could win this football game. I've told you since day one. My everydayers, you know this. I've said since the day we started talking football, when we started transitioning into football season, that we could win this game. Do you know how monumental this would be? Do you know how big of a deal it would be for us to go out here and win this game? We're projected to make a bowl game right now, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know that? We're projected to make a bowl game right now. This would go a long way in doing that. And I can't wait to keep talking about it this week because Curt Cignetti gave us everything. He gave me everything I needed, the confidence I need that we're at least going to go out and be ready. Are we going to win? I don't know. Are we going to play our best? We're going to try. And if we do that, we've got a really good chance to beat UCLA on Saturday. All right, we'll talk some more about that as the week goes on. Coming up in our next segment, our final segment, it was announced a few days ago, but I want to circle back to it. Indiana basketball. We know we're going to play Penn State, but we're not going to play at Penn State. We're going to play in Philadelphia. We'll talk about that coming up in our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Look, if you're going to work out or you're getting up super early, whatever the case may be, you've got to be sure you've got 5-Hour Energy with you. And especially if you're going to the gym, right? If you're wanting to get in shape, but you're having trouble staying motivated, make a 5-Hour Energy shot part of your lifestyle and get the energy boost that you need to get fit. Look, I'll say this. I record this in the mornings most of the time. I take a 5-Hour Energy. Man, I hate getting up in the mornings, but it's the best thing for me. I get up, I brush my teeth, take a 5-Hour Energy shot, and I'm good to go. It's why I'm so jacked up on this podcast all the time, right? You can get 5-Hour Energy, and it will just get you through the gym. It'll get you through a podcast. It'll get you through a morning meeting. Whatever it is, you need 5-Hour Energy, okay? With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore. Watermelon, tropical burst, which is my favorite, grape, berry, and more. There is a flavor for everyone, so you may as well try them all. And on the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's LOCKEDONCFB at 5hourenergy.com to get 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th, so you're looking at a couple of more weeks, okay? And you cannot use it with other promotions, and it's not good on subscription orders. So that's LOCKEDONCFB, the code at 5hourenergy.com today. One more segment to go here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, my everydayers. You're the best. You guys are truly, truly the best here at Locked On Hoosiers. And I'm having a blast, and I hope that you are as well. And I'll tell you who else is having a lot of fun. My boy Spencer over at Locked On College Football. Go check him out, okay? Locked On College Football. This is your first watch and your first listen. I know that. But then you got to go find you a second listen, right? What if your drive is an hour to work instead of just 30 minutes? What if you need something else to watch or listen to while you're sitting at the office typing away, or if you're out in the field doing whatever it is that you got to do? Check out Locked On College Football, okay? Spencer is hitting all the biggest storylines, all the biggest news. He's hitting on the hardest teams this week, because last weekend was crazy. This weekend could be too. Maybe not as sexy of a weekend, but hey, he's still going to cover it all, okay? So go check him out at Locked On College Football. We flip over back to basketball for just a second, something I've yet to talk about on the show. I know this has kind of been news a little bit, and I failed to mention it, so apologies for that. But Indiana going to play Penn State basketball-wise, okay? Indiana going to play Penn State at the Palestra. Yes, that is it right there in Philly, PA, right? It is a unbelievable venue in Philadelphia. I'll admit, I've never been. I know people that have gone. I've never even been to Philadelphia, to be honest with you. I've been to a lot of big cities, but Philly's one of them I've just never had the chance to get to. But that will be on January 5th, right? It says Indiana will play there against Penn State on January 5th. It's called the Cathedral of College Basketball, right? It is the oldest major college basketball arena still in use and has hosted more basketball games than any other basketball venue in college. That's crazy. That is really, really crazy. They're going to play, remember, this is one of the three teams that Indiana plays home and home this season: Ohio State, Purdue, and Penn State. And so I've seen a lot of people get a little fired up about this. I don't understand why. Some people are upset that, Penn State gets to play their home game at a bigger arena. That's not fair. Okay, who cares? You got to go on the road anyway if you're Indiana. We were going to have to go to State College. Why not go and play somewhere cool? Why not go play somewhere bigger? Gives us, Indiana fans, a better chance to go to the game, because you saw their arena a year ago. You've seen it before. I'm not a huge fan of it, but this gives us a chance to go to Philly, support the team, support the boys in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I don't hate it. I compare it to this. It would be like Indiana saying, okay, we're going to take a game out of Assembly Hall and we're going to go play it at Lucas Oil in Indy. Now, there's a huge difference between Indiana's home court atmosphere and Penn State's home court atmosphere, but in terms of size and the building and the name and the atmosphere and things like that, I think that's kind of the same comparison, maybe close, and maybe it's not and you disagree, that's fine. But I'm not worried about it. It's Penn State, okay? Last year was abysmal. Last year cannot happen again. We need to go in and dominate Penn State this year. I think we will. I'll admit I don't know a ton about them right now. We'll get into them and everybody around the Big Ten as we get closer, but our team is so much better than we were a year ago. And God, down the stretch, we looked so bad against Penn State. Looked so bad against Penn State. And let me say this. I have nothing against Penn State. Truly, I don't. I never have. I kind of like them sometimes, I'll admit. But Penn State should never beat Indiana in basketball. They just shouldn't. That should never happen. And there's a reason that history was made by the Nittany Lions a year ago when beating us twice, okay? They made history. That cannot happen anymore. So for this game in particular, I don't think it's all that big of a deal. I really, really don't. I know that this game, it doesn't seat a ton of people, but maybe we have a better chance to get in there. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe with it not being a legitimate home game in the home arena, it still counts as a home game as far as I'm concerned for Penn State, but maybe we're able to get a few people in there and get that place rocking. It's going to be really, really cool. And that'll be, again, that's on January 5th, Indiana playing Penn State. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of the couple games that we know so far. We know the Nebraska game too, but other than that, still waiting on the full Big Ten schedule to drop any day now, really, I think so. And it's got to be something good because I've told you a non-conference schedule ain't all that great for us. We'll have some wins, no doubt, but we got to get some competition. We got to get challenged in the Big Ten schedule, and I cannot wait to see it. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you. Your support means the absolute world. If you're on the YouTube side of things, okay, like the video, comment down below. What game are you most excited for in Big Ten play for Indiana basketball? We don't know them yet, but we know who we're playing. So tell me who you're most excited for. What road trip are you going to make this year for Indiana basketball? Drop that down below, and be sure you hit our show logo at Locked On Hoosiers and subscribe to the channel, okay? It's the best way to support this free show for you, and it helps me out tremendously, okay? And it tells me that you're enjoying the content over here, tells me that you want more, and that you're going to come back tomorrow, because that's important. I want to see you here tomorrow, okay? Which is when we're back. We'll have another episode for you then, Hoosier fans. Until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.